Monday on Better Mornings Atlanta. Powered by 790 The Zone. This is the CBS Atlanta Sportsline SEC Preview Show. Presented by your Greater Atlanta Hyundai dealers.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the SEC Preview Show on CBS Atlanta. I'm Guy Rawlings, and this guy is the former jock who still has the game on lock, national sports radio host Wayne Gany. And you know, we were talking earlier before the show how the BCS is really starting to take shape. A lot of teams don't have a whole lot of conference games and other big games to play into their rankings. So it is what it is almost at this point.
First of all, I want to make sure you're okay after the Gators went down. We're going to talk about Georgia in a second, but are you okay?
Do we have to?
Yeah. But speaking of the BCS, when you look at this shaping up, especially it's November now, it's getting chilly outside. That means the end of the college football season is coming upon us. You see Kansas State still undefeated. Right. Notre Dame, everybody wants Notre Dame to be undefeated at the end of the year. They have a finality with USC. Oregon still stuck at number 4. Right. They have a game with USC. So LSU, Georgia, still outside shot. That's what is big this weekend when Alabama takes on LSU. Georgia still needing a win to keep their self hopefully in the national championship game as well.
You're exactly right. The big game between Alabama and LSU right here on CBS Atlanta tomorrow night. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But first, the early game on CBS Atlanta. The Dogs are back in action after their big game and big win against the Gators. They're facing Ole Miss, but let's talk about that Gator game first, which really pains me to do, but we have to do it.
You mean the Jarvis Jones game?
Yes.
That's what it became.
Exactly right.
Jarvis Jones went out, dominated on defense after his safety, Sean Williams, called out the defense. They went out and displayed the kind of talent we always thought they had on defense, causing all kinds of turnovers. Jeff Driscoll, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. The offense did enough with the ball with Todd Gurley, who really showed how tough a freshman that he is. When you can carry the ball 27 times against a Gator team like that, have 118 yards, what a day for him. Georgia really shined. It was an ugly game on offense. Yeah. Neither one of the offenses really did anything. Florida defense, even with those turnovers, were able to hold Georgia to 17 points. You know, so hey, when you look at this game, big for Georgia, but they still have a lot of work to do.
Yep. Back to Jarvis Jones. You mentioned him, 13 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. Unbelievable game for him. That kid is a stud. But you know what? Last week's win doesn't mean much if they don't win out these last couple SEC games, especially to Mark Richt.
It's like Jarvis Jones said, if we don't keep winning, it's not that big anymore. So for that day, for that moment, it was a great moment. It was a great victory, but we've got bigger plans ahead, and that's to try to get back to Atlanta and do better than we did a year ago. So if we don't win this week, it's not quite all for naught, but it's pretty close.
All right, he got his kids hyped for that game with Florida. I mean, of course, it's a huge rivalry between the two states, the two teams. How do you get 18 to 22-year-olds to have that same intensity week in and week out?
Well, first of all, you know you've had a big game when your coach is quoting you, as Jarvis Jones said.
Good point.
But right now, this is where your senior leadership comes up. This is when Aaron Murray, Jarvis Jones, Alec Ogletree, Sean Williams, they go out. They paint this picture to each other. The coaches can only do so much. And I think this coaching staff did a great job getting them up for this game, especially defensively. Now you got to go play this Ole Miss team. The best thing about this is it's in Athens. So you right in front of your fans where you always feel that pressure to live up to billing. And I think that is the best part. I think if you had to go to Ole Miss, you could have a little lull. I think the fans really can play a part in this and motivate this team to kind of show what they did last week in Jacksonville.
That's a good point. But also, you know, Ole Miss is really no slouch. I mean, they're only 2-2 in the conference, but they've scored 71 points in their last 2 games. They're getting pretty good.
Yeah, they're very, very balanced on offense. Jeff Scott, the little running back, 5'7", 170. He hits it up in there. Hits it up in there. He's 5th in the SEC in rushing. Bo Wallace is a solid quarterback. Hugh Freeze, the head coach, really has this team motivated and playing hard on both sides of the ball. I think Georgia can pull this out, but they can't overlook this team. It's dangerous. It's 5-3 record.
Right.
They started off the season, like you said, hot on offense. It's going to be a challenge for Georgia.
Right. You know, Georgia's won 9 straight in this series, but Ole Miss, Hugh Freeze, as you mentioned, he has his team very disciplined, one of the least penalized teams in the conference.
Discipline. When you don't beat yourself, you always give yourself. Just like I said, turning the ball over, penalties, those kind of things show your head coach that you're very disciplined.
Very good point. Georgia controls their own destiny. If they can win out these last couple conference games, then they should represent the East in Atlanta come early December. When we get back, we'll take a look at the monster matchup in Baton Rouge between #1 Alabama and the 5th-ranked Tigers of LSU.
Les Miles, to me, has done as good a job as anybody in our league ever has in terms of what he's been able to accomplish and the consistency that they've accomplished, you know, as a team there through the years here in his 8 years at LSU. They're a ball-hawking, you know, big turnover type of defense that creates a lot of negative plays for you.
Does Nick need a throat lozenge? What's going on there? Some I don't know,
Hey,
mental labor?
big game. Stress will always make you hoarse.
I guess so, and a whole lot of yelling at your kids. The second scoop of the double dip of SEC football on CBS Atlanta will be the Bama LSU game, a huge game, a national championship on the line, kind of. Again, you're right. And so this is basically round 3 between these guys. They played twice last year, and this is round 3 to show kind of the SEC West dominance.
Yeah, 3rd time in a calendar year these two teams have faced each other, last time in the BCS championship. When you look at this game, this tells you the story of college football. There's two Alabama, 2 LSU championships in the last 6 years,
right,
dominating once again. You know, last year's game, the game of the century. At least at this point, November 3rd, this game is the game of the year. #1, #5, once again, locking horns, almost mirror images of each other when you look at this game. So, you know, it's a lot on the line as usual when LSU and Alabama meet.
And it's funny, you bring up the BCS titles, a couple for Alabama, a couple for LSU. The SEC has won the last 6 of them. If LSU wins this game, it takes the SEC out of that loop.
Yeah, it does. When Alabama, if they drop a game, then the Kansas States, the Oregons, the Notre Dames, they jump back into the national championship picture. Like I said earlier, it seems like everybody's pulling for Notre Dame to end up there once again. But when you watch this Bama team, I think they have the mettle to really run the table once again. But if you're LSU, you're looking at this game from the point that we beat Bama.
Right.
And if there's a one-loss team to make the championship game, it would be LSU. So you set yourself up pretty good if you win this game.
Right, you know, and you're saying they're kind of mirror images of each other, but one place that they're not really mirror images is at quarterback. But Les Miles, he likes his guy in Zach Mettenberger.
You know, he's reading the defense as well. I mean, he recognizes where he should be going with the ball, and that's really one of his strengths. I think he really processes the field well when he's in the game. So I like his development, to be honest.
Okay, Bama shut out LSU last year, 21-0 in that championship game. They're going to need some points this year.
Yeah, well, Les Miles, I have to disagree with you. Zach Mettenberger, when you're 109 in the country in passing, I don't know what you're reading, but you're not reading the right thing. But this LSU team is built just like it's been over the last couple of years. Defense, running the ball, Jeremy Hill, Spencer Ware, Mike Ford, Kenny Hill. You put them in, let them run the ball. As Kevin Sumlin from Texas A&M said, I can't tell the difference. But this game is going to come down to, in my opinion, not just A.J. McCarron, but Alabama's offensive line. When you look at this offensive line, Barrett Jones, DJ Fluker, Chance Womack, they are what's going to separate who wins, because I think that front 5 can control LSU long enough to give Alabama and Amari Cooper time.
But wait a minute, Wayne. LSU has had 2 weeks to prep for this game. They're coming off a bye week. They've had 2 weeks to get their act together and try to knock out these guys and try to score on Bama's defense, who's the top defense in the country. It's got to be.
top defense in the country last year, the year before. When aren't they the top defense? And they were the top defense when I was in college. But that's what Bama does. They go out, they put a lot of pressure on you. They're able to make a lot of plays. And I just think that Bama is just so strong on offense this year. That's going to be the big difference. 30 points a game in 8 games this year.
A.J. McCarron has not thrown a pick at all this season. No turnovers. That kid is good.
One of 2 teams that haven't thrown an interception, Alabama, La Tech. A.J. McCarron, 18 touchdowns, no interceptions. And I tell you, when you look at a team, want to know if they winning or losing, look at the turnover battle. Alabama wins that every week.
And LSU's defense is no slouch either. So
yeah, they can stop the run. So I just think that the playmaking ability of Amari Cooper, Mike Williams at tight end, and A.J. McCarron outweighs what LSU can do.
All right, when the SEC Friday Night Preview Show gets back, we'll take a look at the rest of the slate in the conference, including in Florida rebound after last week's heartbreaker in Jacksonville.
Friday.
#1 mattress outlet store.
Gas South. Great everyday low rates. That's hometown value.
All right, a quick look into the ACC. Georgia Tech visiting Maryland. The poor Terps. They've had 4 quarterbacks go down to injury this year, so they're starting with a freshman linebacker playing quarterback. If Georgia Tech can't beat these guys, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, this could get the coach fired when people start seeing stats like that. But one thing Maryland can do is play defense, and Georgia Tech, with their quarterback issues and that type of defense, better watch out.
Yeah, I think Paul Johnson has kind of been mum about who's going to start this week. Would it be Tevin Washington or Vad Lee? Vad came in during that BYU game because Tevin didn't really get his vibe going, getting his grind going.
Yeah, when you go out, you start losing, like they say. First, we got rid of the defensive coordinator. Now we got to figure out the quarterback situation. So losing breeds this kind of insecurity. So Paul Johnson better right this ship quick.
This kid, Owen Smith, is pretty good, too, averaging 9.9 yards per carry, second in the nation for Tech. All right, let's take a quick look at some other games. Missouri at Florida. Who you got?
Florida rebounds. Jeff Driscoll, Mike Gillislee run the ball.
I like to hear that. Vandy, Kentucky. Kentucky's still looking for their first win.
I'm hoping somebody tunes in to even watch this. I'll take Vanderbilt.
Texas A&M and Mississippi State.
Texas A&M, Johnny football for the Heisman.
All right, that's our time. Wayne Gany Guy Rawlings. Thanks for watching.
It's the Late Show